Hey guys, it's Alyssa Marie, your intuitive reader. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to be talking about the Arcturian Stargate and what happens there. The reviewing of souls, the processing of souls. Okay, so this is a very important video for you if, well, anybody really, but especially if you're a starseed, you identify as a starseed. I think this information will kind of put stuff into perspective for you. And I also have something to talk about at the latter part of the video regarding how this affects a lot of us today, okay? But before we get started, if you guys are interested in a personal reading, crystals, guided meditations, decks, etc., the link to my Etsy is down below. I also do want to note that I do have quite a big sale right now. I have 20% off of most items, everything in my shop, and then I have 25, well, not every item, 20% off the crystals and everything else, and then 25% off all the jewelry and the bracelets. So you might want to check that out. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to begin by talking about really what a Stargate is in my perspective. So I have done some personal research as well as I did a channeling session actually recently for a client and got a ton more information on the Arcturian Stargate. Now, I've been told by the Arcturians that there are several Stargates throughout our universe, okay, and multiverse. It's just that I have the information primarily today on the Arcturian Stargate. But however, all Stargates really, to my understanding, function in similar ways. I'm sure they differ. But for the Arcturian Stargate, we are going to be talking about the reviewing or the processing of souls. So what happens is when a soul dies, okay, so let's say you're an Arcturian being and you die, okay? Your soul is then taken to this Stargate where there will be a member or people who will basically take the energy, the information that's in your soul, and enter it into a quantum computer. And when they enter it into the quantum computer, it is stored in kind of like a cloud, and that cloud is known as the Akashic records, okay? And there is already information there about you, about your soul, about my soul, about every lifetime we've ever had. But when the person dies, that incarnation, when they die, that's the final information being logged into the system. So if you're I feel that like if you're a human, you could still probably have your soul processed through an Arcturian Stargate or through any other Stargate. But it's important to note that the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of this has led to what is called empathy overload. So stay tuned for that. Okay, that's going to be at the end. So again, the information input, okay, now this is something that you've probably heard before. I know Dolores Cannon talks a lot about it. Some other people probably too, where we have this review of life. And what happens is so let's say you pass on, your particular soul, but you as, that version of yourself in this lifetime. So when I die, Alyssa, I am going to go through the Stargate or some area where I get a soul review. And I am going to see everything that I've done instantaneously because time really has no meaning, right? There for sure. And the concept of time is just so different. I am going to see all the bad things I've done and all the good things I've done, all the parts I've broken, all the pain that I've caused people, but also all the blessings that I've felt, that I've given others. I'm going to have a bit of a life review, but it's not like I sit down and, we talk. It's going to be instantaneously, almost like whoosh, and I see it and I feel it. And do I see it, because I don't have a body then, but I feel and I perceive my energy, my soul perceives what my life up to that point has been like, okay? Now, this is not to be in the sense of damning, like, oh my gosh, you did this and look at what a poor soul you've been, or you did this, you look at what a great soul. You will always see there is beauty and there is light and there is shadow in every soul in every lifetime. And when the soul has been reviewed in the Stargate, the soul then goes on to later steps, which maybe we can talk about in other videos, or for what I've gathered. But we're primarily focusing here on the Stargate. Now, the people that help process these souls and talk to these souls, and I say talk, but you can't really think of it as a sense of talking, but rather guiding these souls. The Arcturian Stargate, there's Arcturians at that quantum computer. What happens is they end up experiencing these lifetimes with the person who has passed. So it can be dramatic, it can be upsetting, it can be scary, it can be heavy. And what happens is I have found that a lot of people that are very strongly connected to their empathic, their side, their empathy, a lot of people have possibly been somebody who worked. I mean, there's a lot of reasons somebody can be connected to empathy, but I want you guys to think about this for yourself. There are people who basically live through that person's memories as they're going through that. They're not supposed to, but they do, and they feel it. And sometimes the soul, it's almost like it has, kind of electrical impulses of because we can't think of it like emotions, right? But when the soul sees everything it's done, it's almost like, it'll have these feelings of happiness and sadness, but not in the way that we feel them, but yet it will still have an effect on that soul and also on the Arcturians who are living, helping with this. So that's interesting. And why I wanted to bring that into perspective is I did a transmission for a client, and they had a lifetime as somebody who was a soul, what I call a soul processor or soul reviewer at the Arcturian Stargate. So there might be several Stargates within the Arcturian star cluster, but when I referenced this, they kept saying the Arcturian Stargate. So maybe there is one. And this Stargate is really it's like a between area, because the person has died and their soul is kind of entering, a different kind of realm of existence. And then that's, something else. But this processing that happens is an interesting process, and it happens, to my understanding, in a lot of Stargates, and it's one of the main purposes of a Stargate. There might be more purposes, but this is one of the main purposes. It is to process the souls, and it is in a way kind of, it happens very quickly because a lot of people die, all the time. People are born all the time, people die all the time on planet Earth, but in many other star systems as well. And there's a lot of that energy that is having an effect on the so-called processors or reviewers that are present. And so I want you guys to think about if you resonate with that, of somebody who maybe has been in a position of looking at other people's souls and taking on their energy. Now, again, we were never, I say we because I felt like I definitely did this. We were never meant to take on the energy of the soul, because sometimes souls coming through there, some of them had some crazy experiences. Some of them dealt with very violent experiences. Some of them, very horrific experiences. And it was very important to not take on that energy, but we did. A lot of us did. And that's something that has carried on through generations past into humanity. Okay, I have been told, I have channeled this. And so I want you guys to know that if you resonate with that, if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. But if you resonate with that, look into that avenue and possibly look into doing some healing, okay? Now, of course, I do offer healing, in my shop, but by no means do you need me to do it. And by no means do you really need anyone to do it, okay? Really, we're not, when I do any healing sessions with anybody, I'm aiding them, I'm helping them. I'm not doing it for them, because you do everything yourself. People don't realize that, but you're doing everything yourself, really. And so I do recommend you to go back to those times, and there's certain soul cutting, cord cutting meditations you can do, and cord cutting exercises. But in particular, that is something that might resonate with a lot of star seeds right now, is the Stargate, working at the Stargate, because I do see it as being very, I will say, almost kind of like, and then maybe that sounds a little sad, but I do see it very like a factory. I see it very like, you know, because it's just so many that happen, and there's still great growth that happens through the soul reviewing process. But you know, not the Arcturians, just because the Arcturians are higher dimensional beings, and you know, so are the Lyrians, the Pleiadians, it doesn't mean that everything they have is figured out either. I don't know if that factory type setting that I envision is you know, always going to be the case, or always has been the case. But there's just so many people on earth, there's just so many people in everywhere, right? And so there's a lot of fast-paced energy, and so with that fast-paced energy also came the reality of not being able to heal from all that stuff that went down, okay, all that processing. So that's the information I have for you today. If you guys are interested in this type of video, if you want to know about other things, you know, that maybe I've never talked about, please let me know. And of course, I don't know everything. I barely probably know a little. Nobody knows hardly anything, right? But, you know, if you want my perspective, just comment, and if you want me to make a video, I'll try to make a video about it. I'll try to respond. Sometimes I do get a lot of comments and it's hard to respond to them all, but I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate everything. I'm having a little emotional day today, and it made me think about this. It made me think about the channeling. It made me think about the fact that I am very, you know, I'm an empath, and I do absorb people's energies around me, whether I like it or not. I try not to, but I do feel the energy of the room. I feel the energy of someone else, even if we are far apart. You know, I feel it strongly, and I think that a lot of you do feel that as well. And just to know that I love you guys, and I hope you have a great day, okay? And I'll see you on Thursday. And yeah, have a great day. Bye-bye, guys.